Welcome, my amazing friends, to Fluent Story Time. Today, I bring you a story that will touch your heart, inspire your soul, and teach you unforgettable lessons about life, dreams, and the magic of never giving up. This is not just the story of an actor or a comedian, it's the story of a man who became a legend, a symbol of hope, and a voice of humanity. His name was Sir Charles Spencer Chaplin, but the world lovingly remembers him as Charlie Chaplin. No one, absolutely no one, can match his brilliance. His work is timeless, his art is universal, and his life is a reminder that no matter how difficult the road becomes, passion and perseverance can change everything. Even decades after his time, his laughter still echoes, his struggles still inspire, and his message still touches millions of hearts. So sit back, relax, and listen carefully, because this journey will not only improve your English, but also awaken something powerful inside you. Let's begin the incredible life story of Charlie Chaplin. Charlie Chaplin was born on April 16, 1889, in London, England. His parents, Hannah Chaplin and Charles Chaplin Sr., were stage performers who worked in theaters and music halls. They sang, danced, and entertained crowds for a living, but fame and money never stayed long. Life was hard, and tragedy came early for young Charlie. His father struggled with alcoholism and eventually abandoned the family, leaving his mother to raise Charlie and his older half-brother Sidney all by herself. Hannah did everything she could to provide for her children, but poverty followed them everywhere. There were days when they had nothing to eat, nights when they slept hungry, and mornings when they didn't know where they would go next. Sometimes, Hannah pretended to eat just to make her children believe she wasn't hungry so they could have a little more food. They lived in tiny rented rooms and moved often, always fearing eviction. Yet even in such misery, little Charlie found ways to smile. His mother, despite her struggles, was an amazing performer. She had a beautiful voice and often sang in theaters. Charlie adored watching her perform. He would stand behind the stage, his eyes full of wonder. But one tragic evening, everything changed. During a performance, Hannah's voice cracked and failed completely. The audience grew angry and started booing her off the stage. To calm the crowd, a 5-year-old boy walked forward, Charlie. He began to sing and dance, trying to save the moment. The crowd laughed, clapped, and cheered for him. That night, something magical was born. For the first time, Charlie realized that he could make people happy. It was the moment that defined his destiny, but fate wasn't done testing him. Soon after, Hannah's mental health worsened, and she was sent to a mental asylum. Little Charlie and Sidney were left alone to survive. They became street children, wandering through London's alleys, begging for food, and sleeping wherever they could find shelter. Imagine a boy, barely 7 years old, searching trash cans for something to eat. That was Charlie Chaplin. Yet he never gave up. Even when he was cold, hungry, and alone, he carried a dream inside him. He wanted to perform, to make people laugh, to bring joy where there was sadness. Life forced Charlie and Sidney into workhouses, terrible places where poor children worked in exchange for food and a roof. These workhouses were harsh and unforgiving. Children were treated like machines. Charlie was separated from his brother and mother. He often cried himself to sleep, wondering if he would ever see them again. When he finally reunited with his mother, her condition had worsened. She didn't recognize him anymore. The doctors took her away again, and this time she never came back. Charlie stood there helpless, watching the only person who had ever loved him disappear. But inside him, the fire kept burning. Charlie began doing small jobs, washing dishes, delivering papers, working in toy shops, just to survive. But his heart always belonged to the stage. One day, he saw a group of young street performers doing comedy skits and making people laugh. Something inside him said, "This is where I belong." He joined them and started performing small acts, dancing, singing, and joking for pennies. In the beginning, people ignored him, but he didn't stop. He practiced every move, every expression, every gesture. Slowly, people began to notice the little boy who could make them laugh without saying a word. At age 14, Charlie got his first real opportunity when he joined a dance group called the 8 Lancashire Lads. He wasn't a lead performer, but it was a start. He worked tirelessly, rehearsing day and night, determined to become better. His talent was undeniable. Soon, Theater directors noticed him and gave him bigger roles. At 16, he performed in a play called Sherlock Holmes, where he impressed everyone with his expressions and natural charm. Charlie was no longer just a poor boy, he was becoming an artist. Then, in 1910, destiny knocked again. A famous comedy company called Fred Karno's Troupe invited Charlie to join them on a tour to America. For a poor London boy, this was a dream come true. America was the land of opportunity, and Charlie knew this was his chance. He crossed the ocean, ready to chase his destiny. When he arrived, everything felt new and exciting. The cities were grand, the theaters full, and the audience loved him. In 1913, Keystone Studios offered him a small role in a silent film. Charlie accepted it eagerly. On that set, something historic happened. He created a new character, the Little Tramp, a man in tight clothes, a bowler hat, a cane, a small mustache, and a funny walk. The world fell in love with the Little Tramp. Without uttering a single word, Charlie made millions laugh and cry. His comedy was not just funny, it was full of heart. Within a few years, he became the most popular man on earth. By 1917, Charlie Chaplin was the highest-paid actor in Hollywood, earning millions. But behind all the laughter, he was still the same boy who once went hungry in the streets of London. He never forgot his past. However, Charlie wanted more than fame. He wanted creative freedom. At that time, film studios controlled everything: scripts, direction, and actors. But Charlie refused to be controlled. He built his own studio in 1918, Chaplin Studios, where he could make films exactly the way he wanted. This bold move changed Hollywood forever. In 1921, Charlie made The Kid, a film that told the emotional story of a poor man and an orphaned boy. It was funny and heartbreaking at the same time, reflecting his own childhood. The world loved it. For the first time, audiences realized movies could make them both laugh and cry. Charlie didn't just create films. He created art. His movies carried deep emotions, hope, and humanity. By the 1920s, Charlie was a global icon. But Hollywood was changing again. Sound films, talkies, had arrived. Everyone told him that silent films were finished. But Charlie didn't agree. He believed emotions spoke louder than words. And so, in 1931, he released City Lights, a silent film in a world full of talking pictures. It became one of the greatest movies ever made. The final scene, where his character meets a blind girl, is considered one of the most beautiful moments in cinema history. In the late 1930s, as the world faced war and hatred, Charlie decided to speak through his art. He noticed Adolf Hitler's rise in Germany and realized they even shared a similar mustache. Using this coincidence, Charlie created The Great Dictator in 1940. It was his first film with sound, but it was more than a movie. It was a message to humanity. The final speech, where he said, "We think too much and feel too little. More than machinery, we need humanity," remains one of the greatest speeches ever made. It gave hope to millions during dark times. But his bravery made him enemies. Hollywood and some politicians turned against him, accusing him of being too political. They spread lies and hate until finally, in 1952, Charlie was forced to leave America, the country he had helped shape through his art. Heartbroken, he moved to Switzerland with his family, vowing never to return. Years later, in 1972, the Academy realized their mistake. They invited Charlie back to America for the Oscars. When he appeared on stage, the entire audience stood up and applauded him for 12 straight minutes, the longest standing ovation in Oscar history. Tears filled his eyes as he realized that the world still loved him. Charlie's life teaches us the greatest lesson: never give up. No matter how poor you are, no matter how many people reject you, if you hold on to your dream and work hard, nothing can stop you. Charlie Chaplin proved that laughter can heal pain, and that kindness and creativity are stronger than fame or power. But even legends have personal struggles. Charlie's love life was complicated. He married 4 times, and the first 3 marriages ended painfully. People said he could make the whole world laugh, but he couldn't find happiness in love. Then, at the age of 54, everything changed. He met 18-year-old Una O'Neill, the daughter of a famous writer. Despite the huge age gap, they fell deeply in love. Una stayed with him when the world turned its back. She became his strength, his best friend, and his forever companion. They had 8 children and built a beautiful life together in Switzerland. For the first time, Charlie knew peace. He spent his final years writing, reading, and spending time with his family in a quiet house surrounded by nature. He often watched his old films and smiled, remembering his incredible journey, from a hungry child to the most beloved man on earth. On December 25, 1977, the world received heartbreaking news. Charlie Chaplin had passed away in his sleep at the age of 88. It was Christmas Day, and the world mourned the man who had brought endless joy.